Eddie Reese, Mark Schubert, Bob Bowman. Who's the best social kicker?
Eddie. I don't know. Yeah, I guess it'd have to be Eddie.
David, we're talking about an open water swim that happened last night. That was
Really?
the first time ever happened from Tobago to Trinidad. And our guy finally did it last night, but he didn't do it legally. So at the very end, when he's supposed to come ashore and walk on land, it was a lot of waves and breakers. It was 10 p.m. at night, and he jumped in the boat. I was like, are you kidding me? You swam 24 hours and you jump in the boat at the end. Come on.
So he did the whole thing and it didn't count?
Whole thing. It didn't count.
You said he swam 24 hours, Luke?
24 hours.
What do you think, David? Swim 24 hours and then it doesn't even count. Be happy about that?
Most I've ever done in one sitting is 18,000.
He was going very, very slow, just like this, like that, boom. But it's the current.
But it's more the current,
the
current that's issue, right, Luke?
Yeah, it was like this is the distance here.
Uh-huh.
So if anyone's watching, Luke's holding up a phone to the screen like he's 80 years old right now. All right, well, we're just gonna get right into it here, okay, David? Well, thanks everyone for joining. This is Social Kick. We have a partial crew. I'm John Mullen. We have Luke Paddington, and we have new minted Olympian David Johnston. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, when Brian is not with us today, I don't know what's Brian doing, Luke. He's in Florida?
He's in Florida. He's probably gone for a long ride or long run in Florida.
Yeah, he's probably doing a 200-mile bike ride right now. But
for sure,
forget him. He's not here. We're here to talk with David. So, David, what are you up to nowadays?
Just enjoying being back at UT. Had our inter squad meet yesterday, so it was a lot of fun to get up and race, and just excited to be back here and be back on this great team with a great coach and trying to get back into school too. So I'm just really happy to be back here and driving down the same roads I drove down a couple of years ago. And after being gone for a year, I definitely missed it. And so I'm really happy to be back doing college swimming.
Yeah. We had Carson Foster on our show recently, and he probably wasn't in an inter squad meet, but you might have to settle some beef because he's calling you out. He says he can beat you in the 1,000 yards.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, you buying that?
Well, so I think it was about 48 hours ago. I knew he did a podcast with y'all. I haven't watched the whole thing, but I just kind of fast forward to the end because I know y'all do some rapid fire questions and wanted to try to get ahead of the game there. And then I just saw that all of a sudden, and I was like, I was sitting in bed and my mouth just went. I was like, no way. There's no way that would happen. And but in all respect, he is 1-0 against me in thousands because we did one my sophomore year of college, and I was just coming back from COVID and a break, and I was starting to get back into shape. And he was rocking and rolling, and he wanted to race me in 1,000. And he beat me. He went at 8:59, and I went at 9 minute. But we were in speedo, so that was really good. But I think with how good his 500 is. And given that he is a 400 IMer, I think he would have an excellent 1,000. I don't think he could beat me by any means, no way. But I think he could definitely be under 840. I was thinking about it. I think if he trained for it, he could get down in that 835 range. But I think even as of right now, if you give him a shave, he'll be under 840. I mean, he went a 407 in the 500 about a year ago unshaved, which is really, really good. So, I mean, if he shaves, that's already a second faster. I mean, if he can go 406 or better in a 500, there's no way he can't go at least 419 by 500 in 1,000. So, definitely he's not getting by me, but definitely would be a great guy in 1,000.
Damn, that I didn't know that. So who are you training with now, and who did you race? Who's racing in Texas distance now, and who are you training with in sets?
Yeah, we had a good 500 race yesterday. Rex took the win. He was a 414. I was a 418. And then we have our 500 crew is really loaded this year. I mean, with the guys that could be in A and B finals, we've got Rex Maurer, Aaron Shackle, myself, Luke Hobson. I mean, that's 4 really good right there. So hopefully we'll be able to get 4 up. But I mean, even after that, we've got a lot of really fast guys like Cooper Lucas is probably going to surprise a lot of people and be quick this year. I feel like Kobe Caroz, obviously he made the A final last year. He'll be back. So, I mean, those 6 of us right there, we raced yesterday. And then in the then in the 1,000, we've got a distance swimmer from Russia on our team named Sasha, who's pretty good. And I really think he can take that next step this year and get to the NCAAs in the mile. And he had a pretty good 1,000 yesterday. I was kind of impressed. He was like 9:06. But he's also just getting back into shape, and I think he'll have a great season. And we've got Max Hatcher on our team, who has been doing really well in workout. He's been pushing me in practice, and I'm really excited to keep training with him this year. And I think he also will be able to make NCAAs this year.
Wow.
Well, I think your best time's 8:34 in the 1,000. Should it, though, be an NCAA event? And if so, what do you think you could go if you're all in on it at NCs?
I mean, I think if the NCAA meet were to be expanded, I would love to see it be a part of the program. I think it's a really exciting race. I think when we saw the 800 added to the Olympics, just how entertaining that became. I mean, that race in 2023 and also last summer was one of the more highly anticipated races. I mean, you had Half Nui and Sam Short and Fink trying to come back, and then Lucas Martins and Paltrineri. I mean, those were super anticipated. I think if we had that in college swimming with these guys we have coming in from overseas, like David Bettelheim and Zalan Sarkani, I mean, I think it'd be an amazing race. I think with the current format we have at the NCAAs, I don't think it would work unless we put it on the first day with those relays. But I definitely think it would boost the recruitment of distance swimmers and the value of that in our country if we want to start moving forward into having a lot of guys in finals of the 400, 800, and 1500. I think if we put more of an emphasis on that in college swimming, that definitely help us. I mean, with the current format, like I said, probably not possible, but I think if we expanded the NCAA meet, which we probably need to anyway, then I think it should be included. I mean, at SECs, they have an extra day. So it's a little bit nicer there.
Yeah, one thing Texas is often associated with, especially during the Eddie days, were American freestylers. Now we have Bob there. Now I hear a Russian distance swimmer coming in. What do we feel like the transition is going to be as far as recruitment and just the team moving forward?
I mean, recruitment's going really well. We had two great recruiting weekends. And I think we've got 3 of the top 5 recruits, I believe, in the class of 2026 coming in. So it's been fun to get to know some of these guys coming in on the trips. And, a lot of these high schoolers have come in and asked a lot of questions, and you can tell that they want to get to that next level. And that, I think this is the place to be right now. I mean, this is potentially the best training group in the world, or one of them. So, I mean, we've kind of got a lot of really good IMers here. And so we've always been known for freestyle, and I think that'll continue with this group that we have. But Bob's really good with the IM, and that's something I want to explore a bit more this year. And I think 400 IM should be my best event next summer. So I'm really excited to work with him and try to get under 410, which I know he's coached a lot of guys that have done so. Definitely think that's possible. I think just with Bob, I can improve a lot on my backstroke and breaststroke, and freestyle is going to continue to get better. Our distance coach is really good, Eric Posgay. He's I really like what we've already been doing with him, and I'm feeling confident about what the two of us can achieve this year. And I've enjoyed working with him as well. And just our sprint coach, Trevor, has been doing a great job on that side of things. I think we've got a lot of guys on the team now that can surprise some people in the sprints. And I think our relays will be better than people think they will. We had a guy, he's a freshman on the team named Garrett Gold. He's swimming real well. He was great in our quad, which was 450s of stroke and 100 IM. And he's on the national junior team. So there's some great things going on here. And I'm really excited to see that the recruiting is picking up and things are really moving in the right direction. So we're happy about that.
Dude, you got ahead of me with a 400 IM question, because you have this French swimmer coming to you guys soon, and you already have this Hungarian decent backstroker swimming with you who's not bad. What kind of sets are you doing already that are not freestyle that you're enjoying in training? Are you doing some backstroke sets that you're really enjoying? Is Bob giving you, the Janet Evans set that we just recently featured? Are you enjoying those kind of sets? What kind of non-freestyle sets have you been experiencing?
Yeah, so I think Carson gave you the Janet Evans set. That was tough. That was my second week back, and doing a 200 IM all out just after 3 weeks off was tough. Carson was destroying me on that, so got to get him back. But I think one set that I really enjoyed that we did long course on. So I'm working with Bob's group about 2 or 3 times a week on IM. The other days I'm doing distance stuff with Coach Eric. But on Tuesday and Thursdays, we've been doing long course, and we did a set. It was like a variety of like fast backstroke and breaststroke with rest. So it was like 100 back fast, or no, it was 5 rounds of 100 back and then a 50 easy. So the 100 back was on, I believe 120, and the 50 easy was on 45. So you didn't have that much rest. So you'd do 100 back and then you'd finish, and then you'd have to do a 50 free easy. And so you're supposed to descend 1 to 5. So as you start getting going, and I was matched up with Rex Maurer and Hubert Kosh, and I was just trying to stay afloat and keep up. And I think my backstroke's feeling better because I've been able to do some faster backstroke and breaststroke stuff. And then, so after that round of backstroke, we did 5 rounds of a 50 breast and a 50 easy. And I think the 50 breast was on about 45 and the 50 easy was on 45. So, it's not too much rest. And, those are descend 1 to 5. So we had a lot of guys that were getting down on those breaststroke splits, and Nate German-Prez was swimming real well on those. So I just had fun. Like, one of the things I missed last year was just having somebody like Carson in the lane next to me to be able to swim IM with, that I could pick out the points of the 25 that he was beating me on. Like when I trained with Eddie, my first 3 years, and I got a lot better at IM, I would swim next to Jake and Carson, kind of in between them. And then I would just kind of pick up on areas that they were beating me on and just kind of what they were doing, and just swimming in between them every day kind of helped my speed and just the technicality of swimming those strokes. Because my endurance training and freestyle is going to cover everything I need to swim the 400 IM. So training next to these really quick guys is helping me be technically sound and get faster at the IM. So just like I was doing that with Jake and Carson, we've got Leon and Hubert here. So, or Leon will be here. So lots of good people.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta go back. Easy on 45. That's Luke's best time right now. How is he going to make these intervals, man?
Yeah, it's tough. The thing with training with Bob is that he doesn't give you a ton of rest in between sets or even during sets. So we've been knocking out like 7K in an hour and a half, pretty much on a daily basis. Wow. It's been a lot of quick intervals and just tough workouts. Bob is no joke. So.
Let's talk macro cycle. Let's talk the 6-month plan, because you got a new coach who is going to have you guys race differently in season. You have a new conference that's going to require you to be at a different level for conference meets. What has Bob changed or let you guys know what's going to be happening come February, March? Who are you looking forward to racing against in the SEC? Personally yourself, talk about the racing structure for the next 6 to 8 months. 6 months? Yeah.
Yeah. So, originally I wanted to go to the short course worlds in December, but just with how competitive the SEC is going to be, and with, that I'm not going to be beat down into the ground at SECs like I was at Big 12s. I'm going to skip that meet and just focus on my training, especially after taking time off. I think I really need to get fit and to hammer down these next couple months. So I think for SECs, I think our whole team will be ready to swim fast. I don't think everybody will be fully tapered, but I think that most people there will be shaved, ready to swim fast. I know that's something I'm planning on doing. And so, in the past at Big 12s with Eddie, a lot of people were beat down, or people that already had NCAA cuts. And, somebody like Luke would be doing a 500 10 seconds slower than he would be winning the NCAAs a month later, and you would have no idea where he was. And that's something we probably won't be doing this year. And as far as just racing in the SEC, I'm super excited just kind of overall to go up against Florida. I know Bob's talked about the importance of wanting to win that meet, and we want to win it. And but the ultimate goal is to win the national championship. So I think swimming fast at SECs will help prepare us to do that. And as far as I'm concerned, I always love racing Jake McGahee, so I'm excited to race him, and I'm excited to race kind of anybody from Florida. And I know they have some good distance swimmers, and my friend Luke Whitlock and Gio Linshear and Levi Sandidge is in the SEC still, I believe. So really excited to race those guys. it's a good practice to be able to race these great swimmers every day and practice within my own team at Texas. I was talking to one of our 5th year guys named Ben Sampson the other day, and we were talking about how we feel like some of our biggest competition in the whole NCAA is sitting right in front of us on our own team. So, yeah.
Hey, can you guys think about another head coach who has won back-to-back national championships with 2 different teams?
Not sure. Has that ever happened?
I don't think so. So will it happen?
I don't think so.
Is it going to happen?
I think YES. Yes, I think so. I'll say it right here. I mean, we have the team to do it. I mean, so I can't tell you for 100% certainty, but I know that's something that we're going for and something that I think will occur.
There we go, some bulletin board stuff. But hey, you got to be confident, right, with it. And I don't think it's any surprise Texas is going for a national title, especially with Bob there. But that's how it's been for a while.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think a lot of people have seen the clip. It was posted on social media, but Bob was talking in a team meeting about how Texas has always stood for the best, and that's the gear that he was wearing. And it's really true. I mean, that's what has been the standard of college swimming for a while. And the goal at Texas is always going to be to win the whole thing, and not only to do that, but like have those, Eddie not only won, but he did it with a lot of class. So shaking the people's hands next to you, celebrating the right way, doing things the right way, giving your teammates and other people fist bumps, and just being respectful. So not only to win, but to do it in a classy way.
Yeah, looking at your last couple of years, I mean, not many swimmers have the privilege to swim for Eddie Reese, Mark Schubert, and now Bob Bowman and Eric. So I guess talk us through some of the differences between these legendary coaches and their coaching styles, and maybe give it might be hard for Bob because you're still getting to know him, but like a staple set from each one of these great coaches.
Yeah, for sure. I think with Eddie, he was probably less organized than Mark and Bob. Bob's probably the most organized. But that doesn't mean that it's a bad thing that Eddie's that way. He would come in every day, and Eddie would watch warm up and see how tired people were. And then he would give everyone the sets verbally. And then Mark and Bob write everything down, and Bob is super organized. I would say the biggest difference between swimming with Eddie and Bob is just that Eddie definitely communicated with the team a lot and told us what he expected, but it was more of the team's responsibility within the group of guys to talk about what exactly you wanted to accomplish specifically, or really push each other. And I think with Bob, he's on the deck telling people, go fast on this rep, getting up, going crazy with the other coaches. And it's a lot different than Eddie, because then it was the other guys talking to each other. So not that we still don't have that, but that's probably what I would say the biggest difference is. Not that Eddie didn't push us, but just that it was in a different way, and he would say things in a different way. And I think with Mark, he was similar to Bob, where he would get up and really root you on during workouts. And I think one thing that's really important to me is I like to be close with all my coaches, and I'm really close with Mark. I was really close with Eddie. And so just trying to build that relationship with Bob. And that's something that I'm always focused on. Just a coach is not only someone that's going to help you swim fast in the pool and give you the right sets, but somebody that can give you good life advice, and that you can, if you don't have that trust with them, then it's probably not going to work. So even though I've swum with 3 different coaches in 3 different years, I'm just trusting each one of them and giving them my best. And I know if I do that, they'll give me their best.
Hey everybody, quick pause to say thank you for watching and listening to Social Kick. If you like this episode, give it a like. And if you like what we're all about, consider giving us a follow or subscribe on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, @SocialKickSwim. You know what to do. Thanks so much for hanging out with us, and we'll keep telling all the stories about swimming. Cheers.
Well, then let's get a specific example of perhaps how Eddie and Mark at the time may have helped you. So let's talk trials. So opening night, you just missed the team, 3rd in the 400. Your next shot, 800. You came 4th. Last shot, last event, last chance, a mile. You not only have to come top 2, you got to do a best time by a hell of a lot, and you did it. Talk about what gave you that grit, that persistence, that hard work, that holding off Luke at the end of that mile. Was it words from Eddie and Mark? Was it training? Lead us into trials and then going through trials and how you helped succeed to become an Olympian.
Right. I appreciate that. I think at the beginning of the meet, just battling the cold, I was battling. I think at the end of the meet, I was just healthier physically, just having a couple of days after the 800 to reset. I mean, my 400, I didn't feel too bad, but I was just a little off physically. And I think that was just the small difference I needed. I mean, that was a really close race. But I mean, no excuses. I didn't make it, flat out. So I just wasn't good enough there. And then the 800, just things didn't feel right for some reason in that. And then, but it was even after that, I just kept telling Mark, usually at practice, Mark is, real animated, but at trials, he was more just, he continued to stay confident in me. So, after the 400, I was like, oh, I'll just make the 800. Yeah, I missed the 800. I was like, this is going to be tough, but I'm just going to make the 1500, And it was even that night of the race, I was like, I believe I'm going to win. And it was more, or I believe I was going to get top 2. And it was more just, I felt my stroke fell a lot better in that 1500 towards the end of the meet than it did at the beginning. And just Mark was kind of that calming presence for me. Normally he's real animated, but I think people don't realize about him is that he can say a lot of encouraging things to people. And he helped me out a lot during that meet. And just him staying calm, continuing to believe in me, and just having that kind of calm presence for me and just belief in me just really helped me. And I think just having my family and friends around me that week helped me as well. I was staying in an Airbnb with my family and my mom, so to make some really good meals. So without that, I don't think I would have made it. So appreciate her for cooking all that good food. And I think just in that race specifically, to me, that meet was not good. Like the trials, I'm not happy with what happened last summer. But with that being said, I'm really happy with the way that I mentally handled that situation. And even though I felt like I was capable of swimming faster than a 1450 last summer, and I swam a 1452, that was really good for me on that day. And just handling everything that I did, I'm really proud of myself for the way. I mean, I don't think I've ever tried harder in a race than I tried in that 1500. So I just my mentality was, I'm just going to go out there and I'm going to give everything I have for these 30 laps. And that's tough to do in a 1500. I don't think the 1500 is my best event either, which is what I made it in. But, I just nutted up and got it done. And I think that the last couple hundred, I knew I don't have a better last 50 than Luke. So I kind of just sprinted the entire last 500. And with like 200 to go, I was really exhausted. I felt like that last, 300 or from the 500 meters left to the 200 meters left was like pretty much everything I had. And from then I was just kind of dying and holding on. And luckily I had enough room to get it done, but I don't think I could have continued another 50 meters.
Oh, I believe it. I mean, watching that, I was feeling it for you on that last part, feeling the pain. But like you said, you nutted up and you went for it. What a race. And, those last 100 meters, you were just kind of gritting it out. Was there anything, you were thinking about during that, or it was just like blackout, just power through wild man mode?
I mean, the last 100, the last 50, one thing I thought about a lot during the race was two things. One, I thought about that I wanted to maintain the proper technique. I think in the prelim, I had a pretty good swim going 15:02, being pretty controlled. And one thing I learned there was, hey, this is a long race, so I'm just going to think about being technically sound, because a lot of times if you try to go faster and you muscle it too much, you don't have the good technique. And this is a long race. So I tried to just stay calm and use the stroke that I wanted to use. So I was thinking about a few things technically about how I wanted to just be calm and smooth in the water. And I think it paid off. And I think the second thing I was thinking about was just to be tough. And I think that last 100, I was just like, I have this big of a lead. Like, I can't embarrass myself and lose this. So I just had to get to the wall. And just stay calm was what I was trying to do. And, I didn't know what Luke's race plan was going to be or how he was going to. So I knew it was going to come down to the two of us. But, I just made up my mind. I'm going to swim my race. And I don't care where he is. I'm going to stick to my plan and I'm going to feel my stroke out and I'm going to stay calm because this is a long race. And I think it paid off because Mark told me another thing that he helped me out was, he told me to swim the race like I swam a 3,000 that I did in practice. We did a suited up 3,000 in practice in our training pool in Southern California, and I was going up against Brinegar, and he's real good at 3,000s and stuff like that. So we were suited up, and I did a 30:58 and he did a 31:10. But I split it like a 15:35, 15:23 by 1,500. So when I did that 3,000, I was just trying to stay calm that first half and stick to my stroke, and then really hammer out that second half while sticking to my technique. So that's something I tried to do in that 1,500. I was trying to stay calm in the front half and stick with my technique while picking it up in the second half, just like I did in that 3,000 for time. So I think kind of those longer swims and being at altitude helps me out this year to be able to make that event. Because I knew this year if I wanted to make the Olympic team in a long course distance race, I needed to be more fit than I was in the past.
For those who are listening who are not swimmers, who have not swum anything over 100 meters, the feeling you have when you have nothing left in you and you have 300 meters left to go. I'm talking about every time you're like, oh my God, that's just the halfway. That's just the 25. That you cannot believe the pain you go through and your mind games. You just want to give up. But once in a while you have that race that becomes like something happens in you and you're able to get past it. And it sounds like you had that race. Do you consider this to be you knew you could go faster, but do you consider this to be your proudest race you ever done? Like a career highlight race for you? You set the American record in Australia. You've done extremely well in tons of other races. Is this probably your best swim race you've had in your career so far?
I think this is probably the biggest mental rebound, like physical strength race that I've had. As far as most impressive, I could probably give that to something else, but I think that is what I'm most proud of as far as a mental battle and just what that meant, because I can say, hey, I'm not happy with how I swam, or I'm not happy with the times that I went. But if you take a step back and you look at where I was at 16 years old and what's happened the last couple of years, it's been great improvement. And, what were the odds of me at 16 without a sectionals cut making the Olympic team 6 years later? I mean, that's very unlikely. So I think just as far as like that race, even though I didn't have a good week and I came back anyway and used that mental strength to make it, I think that's something that I am really proud of. And I think another one of those races was the 400 when I won a year ago in 2023. Yeah. I think that was another meet where I didn't start off very well. And, in both of those meets, it was when I didn't start off well, that was tough for me. And then I kind of learned to swim into the meet. And that's something that I have never really done before. And I think had I not been able to swim into the meet more in 2023 and make that team in the 400, I don't know if I would have believed that I could have done it this time. So, because after I went 750 in the 800, I mean, adding 2 seconds, it didn't look very good for me, but against all odds, that's what I try to pride myself on. So I think something I'm proud of, just learning how to swim through a meet and kind of grind out a good swim, even if things don't start out well, which is something I've learned over the last couple of years.
Which is something I want to get into eventually when we talk Paris, because, we can talk about what happened in Paris. But first of all, did you and Luke have words afterwards? Like, did you talk to him afterwards? Because what to like. Luke's almost, is he high schooler, just graduated? What it's like to be a high school phenom, to get out there. What did you tell Luke right afterwards and when you finish, or even in Paris?
I mean, I think I probably hung out with him more than anybody on the whole team, the whole trip. I mean, we got along super well. And I think there's just a lot of mutual respect for what we can do. I mean, I think, this year in my mind, a lot in training will be, I want to beat him at the trials next year. And so in my mind in training, I'm going to push myself to the fullest extent this year to try to do that. And I think he'll feel the same. So I definitely think there is some intense rivalry and racing going on there, as you saw at trials. I mean, we're trying to make the Olympic team. So there's that rivalry, but I think there's a lot of mutual respect that we have for one another. And, he's a lot younger than me. He's 4 years younger than me, but he's worked really, really hard. And I know how much effort he's put in over the last year and the things I've heard him talk about and the sets that he's done. And I know how great his coach is. I got to know his coach a little bit at the training camp because he was there in Raleigh. So I think there's just a lot of mutual respect between us. I think after that race, after the 800, I was nice to him, gave him a fist bump. I think he did the same for me after the 1500. And that can be hard to do when you miss an Olympic team in an event. Yeah. But that's something that I try to pride myself on. I mean, whether I make the team or not, I want to be somebody that is supportive for other people, isn't going to throw a fit and is going to shake hands. And that's just more important to me than the racing. So that's something I'm always going to try to do. And I think he did a great job of that because, ever since we got to training camp, we both made it. So obviously I missed the 800, he missed the 1500. I think we were both really happy to be there. And we probably trained together, probably trained with him more than I trained with anybody at the camp, hung out with him a lot. We both got COVID, so maybe that didn't work out for us there. But we did a lot of stuff together, ate a lot of meals together. We still keep in contact. So I think there's a lot of mutual respect and also rivalry. So I've really enjoyed getting to know him.
So you're saying Luke gave you COVID? That's what happened?
I don't know. Could have been the other way around.
Well, like you said, getting COVID at the Olympics, what an experience though, I would imagine. Looking at your event schedule, you ended up getting in that open water, or at least, being able to qualify and planning on swimming it, then waiting around that whole meet for that mile. Talk us through maybe the whole experience in Paris and just your results and everything.
Yeah, when I first got to the village, I was having a lot of fun. I went to the opening ceremony, was having a lot of fun seeing friends from other countries and hanging out doing that. And it was a lot of fun being in the dining hall and hanging out with Team USA. And things were just a bit easier for me because I wasn't swimming until day 8. So pressure was kind of off. I was still resting. I had a great set in the 1924 Olympic pool when we first got there. And I was feeling pretty good and ready to go. And I felt like I could repeat my time, if not go a little bit faster. I wanted to go under 1450, which I felt like I could do this year. So I was really excited and I was really ready to race. And I think what happened was I started, once the meet started, I just didn't feel like myself in the water. I wasn't sick, so to speak, but the first day or two when I was there at the pool, things just didn't feel right. And then day 3 prelims, it was the morning of the 800 prelim, is when I started to feel pretty sick. But I swam twice that day anyway because I was trying to stick on my schedule. But I was starting to get worried because I was getting a little bit sick, but it was nothing abnormal. I get sick a lot. And so I was just like, hey, I'll be fine in 4 days. There's nothing, I'll keep resting in 4 days. I'll be fine. And then the next day when I woke up, it was worse. So I didn't go to the pool and I was the only one in the Team USA dorm room. And I was just, I was on my phone and, was reading the swim articles about how a bunch of other people had gotten COVID. So once I read that, I was like, shoot, I should probably go get tested. So then I got tested immediately and, realized that I had it shortly after that. So it was then after that, Luke was sick when he did his 800. A few other people were sick, but Luke was sick during his race. And so he tested right after me that day and realized he had it too. So, and then it was the type of thing once I had it where it was never a super difficult case to get through. So the mentality was I'm still going to try to race anyway. And, in all likelihood, it probably wasn't going to go great because things can go south pretty quickly in a 1500 if you're not ready for it. But I went out there and did the best I could. And obviously I didn't really feel like myself, but at least I went out there and did it. I could say I swam in the Olympics and I'd rather be doing that than be sitting at home. So it was the hardest part was probably not being able to stay that next week because I wasn't on the open water team anymore once I pulled out of it. And the reason why I pulled out of it, I really wanted to do it. I was really excited for it. And I believed that I could compete and have a high finish just because of my mentality and distance swimming and just because I'm fit to do a 1500. So why not do this thing? I was really excited for it. And I would have done it, but I just didn't do it because I felt like with where my health was, I didn't want to swim for 2 hours potentially in a river with a bunch of illnesses and come back way behind. And so that's why I got out of it, but I really wanted to do it. So that was probably the hardest part wasn't being able to stay the next week because I had to leave pretty shortly after my race. So I only had like one day, the day after my 1500, which I was still pretty ill. So I went around with some family and saw a few things and then went to the pool and watched finals and watched Bobby absolutely kill that 1500. And that was incredible. And then went to the Team USA house for the celebration. So, you know, I got a little bit of time, but I would have had like a full another week to hang out, do the open water, go to the closing ceremony, hang out with some of my friends from other countries that I just didn't have the opportunity to do, just having to leave. So that was tough. But even though I left early, I think it was valuable for me to get some time in California and in Texas before school started. It would have been a really quick turnaround. So I had kind of extra to see a lot of friends and say goodbye to some people in California and hang out with some friends in Texas before school started. So kind of a blessing and a curse.
Hey, dude, when in the Caribbean, when some people are sick, some people drink rum and they put a poison to counteract the poison. It kills them. So maybe swimming the Seine could have helped. But no, but to be serious, before you made the decision to pull out, what kind of thought and planning you had put into swimming in that race? We had Katie Grimes on recently, and you know it's a heck of a she talked about being like a Tokyo drift, rounding that bottom buoy off the current to come back in, and then hugging the coast, hugging the bank to come back up. And you did laps, 3 or 4 laps for the 10K. What kind of preparation, planning, conversations had you had before you decided to pull out?
Before I decided to pull out of the open water?
Yeah. And how to tackle swimming in the environment of the Seine.
Yeah. I mean, in the 1500, I think my mentality was I'm just going to stick with this field as long as I can. So, you know, Jay Udi was in the lane next to me and he went super fast. So I tried to hang with him at the beginning. And then probably around like the 500, I was fine. It wasn't that bad. I went out like a 4:58 or something. I mean, it was slow, but it wasn't that bad. Or maybe it was even faster. I don't even know. Haven't watched the race or looked at the splits, but I think around then is when my chest just started to get really tight. Because a lot of times when I have gotten COVID in the past, I've had a harder time breathing and coming back from that. So once that happened, it was just harder for me to get in air, and I was just didn't feel too fit. But I just, you know, regardless of the time and where I was, like I did at trials, I just tried to get my best throughout the entire race and stick with my stroke. And I think I really enjoyed being in the ready room and walking out behind the blocks. I mean, even though I had COVID and I didn't swim well, I'm really glad I was able to be there. I mean, I got to experience when I walked out for the 1500, there were a lot of people chanting from the previous heat because Damien Jolly from France had a really good race. And so, you know, there were a lot of people chanting. And just being in the ready room and like feeling like I'm about to swim in the Olympics was really cool. And even though it wasn't the perfect experience, that's something that I'll remember for the rest of my life. Hopefully I can go into LA 2028 and win the gold with that experience. And I think just as far as open water, I think just after the 1500, I was going to go to a lunch with my family, but I was just so sick and felt so bad after pushing myself that I couldn't even do it. So I think it was at that point I was like, you know what, I just need to take care of my health. So it was more like with the open water decision, it was more, this probably isn't going to work, but I'm just going to swim this 1500 and then reevaluate. So that's what I did.
Yeah, you mentioned LA 2028 now. We're a little bit of ways, obviously, but now you have that Olympics under your belt. And outside of being sick, because what was it? You got mono at Worlds, then you had a cold at trials and COVID at the Olympics. Other than staying healthy, and maybe that is a learning. What other learnings do you have, and are you kind of getting you in that right path for this next quad?
Here's my biggest thing that I've taken away from all of this. I've made these teams now, and I've gone to Worlds and the Olympics and swam bad. I mean, probably because was swimming through mononucleosis at Worlds last year and through COVID at the Olympics. And obviously that impacted my health all year. I wasn't able to train as hard as I wanted to because of the long-term effects from the mononucleosis in the fall and the winter. I wasn't able to push myself as hard as I wanted to because I had pushed through having mono. I didn't know I had it because it wasn't a severe case and I had no indication that I was going to get that. And so that made the whole year difficult because I got sick a lot. But now my health is really starting to turn a permanent corner for good as I've gotten to UT. I've also been working with a lot of doctors here. I mean, that I didn't have access to last year with UT Athletics, and we're discovering some things that we didn't know. And that's actually helping me get healthier. It's things that I was dealing with within the last year. And so now that I've made these last two teams, my goal is not to just make the team anymore. You know, my goal is to swim fast in July at the Singapore World Championship. So I'm not just trying to make the team. I'm trying to be fast when it matters most. And to me, when it matters most is in the World Championship, getting in the final, trying to win a medal. So, and that's where the legends in the sport are really made. So I think like I took a couple weeks off because this is the time to do it. And so now I'm working into things and realizing that in September and October, I don't need to be at my best, because if I train too hard in September, October, I could get burnt out at the end of the year and not be 100% physically. So what I've learned the most from those experiences is the biggest races matter most in July. And that's what I'm going to try to be my best in. I don't need to be at my best at the orange and white inter squad. Not that it's not important and that I don't want to go fast, but now is the time to not be on my game. And July is the time to be at my best. And so my focus has shifted from not just making the team, but I'm tired of making the teams and not making the final. You know, I want to win a medal. And so there's a lot of satisfaction that I've made these two teams. But at the same time, there's a lot of hunger to get to the next level. And that's something that I'm going to do.
Hey, you've come back to Austin with a tan from SoCal, an Olympian, older, a different coach, different people there, some of the same faces, same street names, same restaurants, but different. David, what do you miss about SoCal that you're going to bring, and how are you seeing Austin differently? And how do you think that's going to have you achieve July next year in Singapore?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think just outside of the pool, I'll definitely miss being at the beach and having that outdoor cool environment without the heat, because that's something that helped me out a lot in the fall. Just kind of struggling with my health a lot in the fall. I mean, I had to miss a lot of practices due to being sick and having a sore throat kind of every day for like 4 months. And so having that nature around me to help me and being at the beach was fun, or being able to travel to San Diego and LA. So I'll miss that. But at the same time, this year, I'd rather be here with this college team. I mean, in California, I met new friends and became great friends with my roommate, and I went out to LA and San Diego and made friends. But it was more, and, you know, I was in Flagstaff, which was fun. But I think being back in Texas, I have this immediate group of guys on my team. Austin is no slouch of a city. There's plenty of fun things to do this weekend. I'll be out paddleboarding on the lake. I'll be going to one of my favorite arcade places here in Austin. I'll be going to Austin City Limits Music Festival. It's like just being able to do some things. Austin's a great city too, to be able to relax. And I think, how can that catapult me into swimming well at Worlds? I think just being a part of this swim team that we have here and swimming with, like, if I want to win a medal in the 400 IM at the World Championships, then I need to get a lot faster at stroke. I need to get more technically sound, and I just need to work really hard. And I think having this group of guys with someone in lane next to me, like Hubert Koch, who is really good at backstroke, and having Carson Foster in the other lane, who's really good at butterfly, and then having Nate German-Prez, who's really good at breaststroke, like, I got to try to keep up with them. And if I can do that, then my endurance will take me into a really good 400 IM training with Bob. So I think Austin will be excellent for me this year.
Absolutely. 100%. What's something that you've learned from incoming freshmen, your two new coaches, the pros that have come over from Tempe, Reagan, Hubie? What's something that they've taught you, besides pushing you hard in practice? What's something that's helped improve David Johnston in the last 3 weeks you've been back?
Yeah, I think we've got a freshman named Landon D'Ariano. He's really good. Y'all will probably hear more about him in the spring. I think he's got a lot of potential. And I've become good friends with him. I mean, we were already good friends before he got here. I hosted him on his visit 2 years ago. And I love the dude. He's just a really nice guy and a really hard worker. So we've been doing after weights, some extra pull-ups together. And it's nice to have that friend that you feel like will go the extra mile with you. And then it's also just like, there's a guy named Ben Sampson coming in as a 5th year. And like, he's just always, our lockers are next to each other, and, you know, we hang out a lot, and he's just kind of a calming presence for me. And I've learned a lot from him, even though he doesn't know it, just watching him and the way that he approaches his practices, kind of the mentality that he has beforehand, and just kind of like the calming presence that he is. He reminds me a lot of, again, a guy named Cameron O'Hanahy that came in here in his 5th year, and he had a similar personality, and he swam really well, and he was already good before he got here, coming in from Colorado, I think is where he was. And Ben Sampson swam D2 at Colorado Boulder. And, you know, I think he's going to come in just like Cameron O'Hanahy and swim real well. And so I'm just enjoying being around a lot of these new people that we have on our team. And one thing I've learned from Rex is just, he's been really good in practice, and he's just been coming in from the jump and just hammering these workouts. And so I want to try to get my fitness level up with him and try to race him. He's been doing amazing.
Now, we did have an audience question from BA2542, and they asked about what really helped you have this breakthrough in high school. From my understanding, I think you mentioned it earlier, that you were like a sectionals qualifier, and now you're Olympian. And a lot of people, you know, when you're in high school, you're already at juniors, you're making teams. Like you mentioned, Luke Whitlock, he's been on junior national teams, not the Olympic team. So maybe what helped that transition for you looking back now?
Yeah, I'll probably say 2 things. One would be, take where you are now and set a goal. You don't have to think about getting to the Olympics. But when I was 16, I was setting a goal. So I was like, I want to get the juniors cut. And then I would listen to music and envision that happening. And then once I started doing that every day, and I started envisioning that, then it became realistic for me to achieve it. So I came into practice and had the mentality that I was a lot faster swimmer than I was, and that I was going to go, and that I was really going to push myself and work out in order to get there. So I think you have to take the small steps and set those goals each year and envision them. And once you start believing that you can do it and having that confidence in yourself, it's tough to stop that. And I think that's what I started doing. And I think once I had that breakout year, I learned how to do that, and then just kept taking it a step further and a step further. And that's something that even now I'm trying to do with where I am now, and thinking about those next things that I want to accomplish. And then secondly, I would say probably just talk to your coach about those things and have him help you. Because when I was in high school, I had Neil Walker, who I would go sit in his office every day for like an hour before, after practice. And he was kind of like my life mentor, and he kind of believed in me as well. So once I had him believing in me and writing the workouts, I remember my junior year of high school, I was heading into my junior year in 2018. I was like a 421, 400-yard IMer. And I came into his office, and we had a goal meeting every year where you would bring in your times. And I came in with the times I wanted to achieve, and they were super, super aggressive. And I said I wanted to go, I think like a maybe I said I wanted to go like a 402 in the 400 IM or something that season. And he was like, nah, I think you can go 359. So then once he said that, that's when I started believing. And I went at 357 in that fall and got the juniors cut and went to juniors. And then I went to juniors, and I was a junior in high school, and I just made it to the meet. And I was like a 1548, 1650. And I watched the 1650 final. And one of my coaches, Stuart Carroll, was standing next to me, and I said, I'm going to try to win this next year. And that seemed crazy to say that, because it was like, no way it's going to drop 40 seconds and win the whole thing. And I won it and dropped almost a minute. I won a 14:51. So it was like, you got to have that guts to say that you think you can do something. And once you do that and you convince yourself of it, it can definitely come to you.
Love it. Well, can't wait to watch you drop another minute in the mile man. All right. Well, we're going to finish up with some rapid fire here. Sweet. So what's one SoCal recommendation for those that go to LA 2028 in 4 years?
There's a good place called Acai Bowls that my roommate would go to every single day. And it's kind of like a staple of food out there. And he loves it. I love it too. I started going more towards the end of my tenure there, but I would definitely check that place out if you want a good breakfast.
Excellent. Now it's going to be packed, so no one go now. All right. So what's your favorite memory from Paris Olympics?
probably going to the opening ceremony and being able to talk to Noah Lyles, Steph Curry, and having a good conversation with Anthony Edwards. They were fun because I watched them all day, play basketball on the TV, and always a dream of mine to be able to meet them in person. I know it's rapid fire, but when I was in high school, I had a Steph Curry fan page, and I ran that fan page from like 2015 to 2018, and I amassed like 157K on the Steph Curry account. I made a bunch of videos and all that. And he was kind of like my inspiration in sport to like, he was a late bloomer like me, and he was smaller than other people. And that was like me at the time. And I wanted to be like him. And so when I was in high school, I wanted to make the Olympics, not for swimming, so that I could meet Steph Curry. And that actually came true. So that was probably my highlight.
Wow. That's freaking awesome. Congrats, man.
Thank you.
Warriors.
Sorry. The Warriors.
All right, back to the pool. All right. What's the hardest set you've ever done?
Probably my senior year of high school. I did 100 hundreds on a minute, but I had to hold 55 or better. So, and this was on New Year's Eve. And so I made it through like 80, and Neil stopped me because I started going 56s. But that's something that I want to do again this year. And that's like really, I don't even know how I did that at the time, but that's something that's really tough. It would be that, or there was a set that was really tough that I would do in high school a lot with Coach Tom and Coach Neil. And it's like 200 on the fastest interval you can make. And then it's a 200 easy. And then it's 2 on the fastest interval you can make in a 200 easy. Then it's 3 on the fastest interval you can make in a 200 easy. And then it's 4 on the fastest interval you can make in a 200 easy. And then 5. I know y'all are freaked out. That's how everybody was. And so I eventually got down to my senior year where I was doing them on 155 and I was holding like 152s. And so this year I talked to my coaches, and when I get back to Rockwall, I want to try to do it, but go on 150 and see how fast I can hold for just old time's sake. You know,
there you go.
That was a really tough set because we do them on fast intervals, and sometimes people would miss them. So you would have to like literally sprint an 800, and then you would have to a 200 easy, and then you got to come back and you got to try to make 5. You know, so that was tough.
Just by the way, normally you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, but you're going up, which is
1. You got to go up. Yeah.
Yeah. Move over Janet Evans set. We got the David Johnston set right here.
It's called hurt, pain, agony, because the slower interval's the hurt. And then the middle interval they give is the pain. And then the fastest one is the agony. So it's called hurt, pain, agony from Rockwall Aquatics.
There you go. You got it now.
Tough.
All right. What's the worst thing you heard was in the Sen?
Well, we went by it in the opening ceremony and didn't look too great, to be honest, but they put together a great opening ceremony. You know, just probably the worst thing that was in there was, what's the disease everybody was getting?
E. coli?
Yeah, E. coli.
Yeah.
I get that now.
Who's the greatest University of Texas distance swimmer of all time?
Probably Michael McBroom with what he achieved at Worlds, or Clark Smith with his legacy results. I'm gonna have to say Clark though, just with what he achieved at the NCAAs.
Yeah,
want to be like him.
If you had to swim butterfly with no turns, how long could you swim? What distance?
And that'd be so tough. I hate fly. It's probably my least favorite stroke. I've gotten to like it a lot better than recently after I got stronger. I could probably do, if I really felt good, I could probably get to like 2,000-3,000. I think I would tap out. You know, that'd be tough. It's brutal.
Or pain agony right there. That's for sure. Don't
give Bowman that idea.
Yeah. All right. In what year does the 800 free 7:32.12 by Lin Zhang world record get broken?
2037. I think that it's possible. I don't think we'll see it for a while, but I think it's possible. Yeah. I think that if someone can go 338 in the 400 and has endurance, I think they could get it. Because we saw Sam and Ahmed go 340 and they went 737. So it's going to be tough to beat that. But I think we will see it eventually. But that is definitely the toughest record of the 400, 800, and 1500.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right. Last one we have for you, and we're going to mix it up a little. So Eddie Reese, Mark Schubert, Bob Bowman. Who's the best social kicker?
Eddie. I don't know. Yeah, I guess it'd have to be Eddie. Because And Bob's not even letting us social kick and warm down. He gave us a talk about how when we warm down from fast swims, we shouldn't be kicking on a board going easy. He's hardcore, but it's good. I think Mark would never allow that. He'd probably be last on the list. I have to go with Eddie, even though Eddie still probably wouldn't like it.
All right, David. Well, that's all we have for you here. Thanks for joining us. We're excited to see you drop another minute in that mile, man.
Let's go do it. Thank you. Appreciate it. Good to see y'all as always.
Definitely. Well, that's it for this episode of Social Kick. Thanks, everyone.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you're enjoying Social Kick, tell your friends about it. And be sure to tell us what you liked by leaving a comment and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Social Kick. And you can find all of our content on our website at thesocialkick.com.